Morning.
Good morning,
Morning,
sir.
students. How are you? How are you all?
Sir, we are fine, sir.
So are you attending all classes now?
No, sir. Circuit theory has not yet started.
Which one not? Which no? Which classes not?
It's a circuit theory.
Well, so how many you are present today right now? Shong. Which class representative? What's your name?
Yes, sir. Shayan Nodip.
Shana Divya. Shana, what is your total count today right now?
Sir, now it's 15.
You are 20, right?
Yes, sir.
You just hold for a few minutes. 1 minute. So why did you stop? Can you just give me a clue?
So Ampere's experiment.
No. It came up to Faraday, right? Oh, not yet. Only Ampere.
Yes, sir.
Anyone should be with me. Anyone.
Sir, it was still Faraday. So, no, sir, Ampere.
Wait, you just Well, last time somebody gave one very, very nice chronological description. Who are you? Is he Orko or someone else? আগের দিন আমার সঙ্গে কথা বললো কি খুব ডিটেইলে যে বলছিল তার নাম কি?
Yes, sir. He was Orko, sir. Orko Maikab.
Orko, are you present? কথা বলছে না। Orko, can I see you? Orko Prabhu, are you present?
Yes, sir.
Can I see you?
Sir.
You cannot.
Give me some minutes, sir. Please.
Arijit, I want to see you. Deep, they have just joined. They are not attending. Deep, yes, I get your message. What's your problem? Can you not talk? If you cannot talk, then why do you join?
Sir, actually, I don't have webcam.
That's true. So why don't you open your mouth and can tell that that I have some problem?
Sorry, sir, I was connecting the microphone.
Why are you connecting microphone? You should all you should get ready with that.
Sorry, sir.
What about Shahana?
Yes, sir. I don't have an webcam.
Shahana?
Yes, sir.
Shahana, can I see you? Here it is Orko Prabhu, okay? At least few faces I want to see. I don't want. I cannot get your reaction. Right. Anyone else can join with video?
Sir, did you call my name earlier?
I cannot get your voice. I cannot get your voice clear.
Sir,
What
did
is-
you call my name earlier?
So you tell your name. How do you-
Sir, I'm
how do you-
Orko Maika.
Yeah, Orko. So why don't you show up with your face?
Sir, actually, I went to the bathroom that time. Sorry,
What's that?
I went to the bathroom that time. The moment you called.
So you keep muted. You keep your voice muted or microphone muted. Otherwise, I will get feedback. Now, if you want to talk, you can talk. Now, if you want to talk, you can just unmute and can talk. Okay. So we are talking about which part, Shahana?
So you talked about Ampere's experiment and the
Then-
electromagnet.
Then electromagnet and purpose of electromagnet.
Yeah, so that was the end of the class. And in the end, you said about galvanometer, about a bit about galvanometer.
So based on your experience, your knowledge in schools particularly, I don't count your knowledge in university. So based on your knowledge in school or little bit in engineering, that is an university. So can you follow my points? Or could you follow my points? Could you realize this?
Yes, sir.
So we came up to the development in the domain of electricity and magnetism up to 1831. So there are two major developments in 1831. One is the first demonstration of electrical communication by ringing a bell, which is actually the precursor of your modern day doorbell. Do you believe that doorbell is one kind of electrical communication, and that is the first kind of electrical communication that is by using one electromagnet? Even today you use the same electromagnet. Have you ever done any experiment by your own hand with electromagnet, real electromagnet? Any of you? It is unfortunate. Why? Because you only focused, it is the trend of the day. You were only focused on books and qualify in exams. So to you all the same, any magnet or non-magnet or electromagnet, once you build one electromagnet by hand, then you can understand how difficult it is. Well, for you, I have gathered few information I am going to share. Let me see. You just tell me whether you can see here. Can you see my slide?
Yes, sir.
Can you see my slide? Okay. No, it is only white, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Someone is calling. Okay, just a minute. Sorry, I'm in a class, so can I talk after few minutes? Or about an hour? After 12, that's fine. Okay. Have you heard about this name of this museum, Smithsonian Museum? Let me see. Have you
No,
ever
sir.
have you ever heard this name,
No, sir.
Smithsonian?
No, sir.
No, sir.
How many are present today? I want everyone should visit Washington DC, and I believe everyone will get chance to visit US and Washington DC particularly, and visit Smithsonian Museum. There are multiple museums, Smithsonian Museum. I personally could not see this device because probably it was a different museum. But the most famous is Smithsonian Space Museum, where you can see almost 90% documents and original stuff of first moon mission. It is very much in the city, in the heart of the city of Washington. Washington DC is not a very big town. It is very small. So can you get the diagram? That is the first electromagnet by Joseph Henry. I think it is after dismantling or after removing some parts, that's why it is looking like that. Or there is some damages in there. So the original shape cannot be like this. So this is the first horseshoe-shaped electromagnet. So after this 31 device in 1934, just within 3 months, can you see this meaning of these codes? Hello? Hello, anyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone? Okay. So how do you pronounce B? You can write it like this: A, B, C, all the alphabets I told. And this is the electrical equivalent. How do you pronounce it? You tell. What do you call this? Minus or? Anyone?
Dash.
Dash, right. And this one?
Dot.
Dot, dot, dot. Right. Now you look at this diagram. You look at this diagram. What is this? Can you guess the instrument? What is this? This is the dash condition. And when you press it, it will go to dot, dot, dot. Do you follow?
Yes, sir.
This is the switch what you are using for making pulses. Dot and dash, that is make and break. And when you operate this is going to be active and this is going to act at a distant location. So 31, 34, and soon after that 44 telecommunication service started. And this is the first telecommunication service between two cities. Can you read the name of two cities? This is Washington, D.C. and this is Baltimore. This is New Jersey. When you will be visiting by road from New Jersey or New York, you will have to cross Baltimore first and then to Washington, D.C. This is the route. This is the route. So this is the first telecommunication link the whole world in 1844. So this is the taste of telecommunication engineering when electrical engineering, rather power engineering, was not that advanced. Are you getting some noise through my microphone?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, I have one very good neighbor and he's fond of music. And most of the music he used to play, or not used to play, he's been playing right now. It is 1950s or 60s. So you may get disturbed, I don't know. Are you getting some noise?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, but I am getting anyway. Well, so this is the scenario of telecom service, real telecom service in 1844. But you will be surprised to see this information in 1875, the international network first started. And in the first international network, you see which three countries were connected.
UK, India, and Australia.
Right. Why? Because Australia and India, Australia is still under Great Britain as the dominion status. Definitely India and Australia under UK. So, and you might be surprised to know that Kolkata was the second important city in British you may consider in the whole world after London. because this city has witnessed several new technologies for the first time operated in the city. That's why the UK, India, and Australia, that cable connection were connected through, that is underwater cable. Through this underwater cable, they laid this telegraph network. So don't think it is telephony. So I'm talking about all telecommunication. It is all make and break system, all telegraphy, and all use electromagnet. Now you come back again to 1831. You just see. Can you remember this device? Can you guess what it is? What it is? Can you guess? Can you see it clearly?
Yes, sir.
বলো তো কি এটা? Just give me a few seconds. I close the window. What's that? You cannot understand, right?
No, sir.
Sir,
Is it a telephone?
so I just give you some hint. There are two coils. It is secondary coil and it is primary coil.
Transformer.
This is from the original note or sketch of Michael Faraday's work.
Transformer.
You look at here, it is the secondary coil.
So it
the
is a
primary coil.
transformer.
Yeah, you look at it, just wait. The primary coil is connected to one Leyden jar. Oh, you're not getting my voice, probably. The primary coil is connected to Leyden jar, and the secondary coil is connected through I don't know, your generation has seen this type of thing. It is a kind of Belgium jar. Belgian jar means it is a glass jar where there is one wire on top. It is connecting a wire on top, and it is connected to these two leads. And just beneath this wire, the horizontal wire, there is one small needle. The needle is there just as the sensor to observe if there is any deflection. It is actually, so I come to this point later on. It is actually this experiment. Have you ever done this experiment, this type of experiment? কোনোদিন করে দেখেছো?
No, sir.
কোনোদিন করে দেখোনি, হায় ভগবান।
স্যার শুধু ভিডিও দেখেছি এরকমটা।
শুধু ছবি দেখে বিজ্ঞান পড়া হয়েছে। কি করে হবে? এ তো রসগোল্লার গল্প শোনার মতো। রসগোল্লার গল্প শুনলে কি আর রসগোল্লার স্বাদ পাওয়া যায়? I request everyone, after pandemic is over, maybe after 6 months or after 1 year, you will do one experiment, just purchase one 50 rupees cost one magnetic needle or compass and simple 1.5 volt battery. Take a small piece of wire, connect with the battery and see what kind of deflection you are getting in the needle if you place nearby this wire. Then you'll understand that what was actually experienced by Faraday. This is the modern demonstration of Faraday's work. Actually, Faraday, this is your magnetic bar. Instead of that, he used one electromagnet. It is his electromagnet. That was active because it was connected to Leyden jar or battery, whatever you call. And the secondary coil, this is the secondary coil, and these two leads are connected to, what is that? What's this?
Galvanometers.
It is a voltmeter, ammeter,
Voltmeter.
galvanometer. Yeah,
Voltmeter.
exactly. Anyway, it is a galvanometer. Better to tell is galvanometer. So instead of galvanometer came in operation. Galvanometer came in operation. Hey, mute. Galvanometer came in operation in 1845 or after 1845. So I'm talking about 1831. So the needle compass was the only measuring instrument or the sensor to understand the presence of electric or magnetic field. So once he did this experiment in the month of August, then he wrote, anyone should read it out. Faraday is writing just after 1 week of his experiment. He completed his experiment in 29th of August. And just after a week, he wrote on letter to one journal editor. And he is writing this line. Just you read it. একজনকে পড়ো এটা। Anyone should read it out. Anyone should read it out.
I am
Sir,
busy
पढ़िए
just
अभी।
now again on electromagnetism, and I think I've got hold of a good thing, but can't say it. It may be a weed instead of a fish.
তুমি যে পড়লে মন্ত্রের মতো পড়লে না, জোরে জোরে পড়ো একটু, কারণ না তো কেউ বুঝতে পারবে না তো।
I am busy just now again on electromagnetism, and think I have got hold of a good thing, but can't say it. It may be a weed instead of a fish.
Faraday was not very confident even after 1 week. সত্যি এটা মাছ না শ্যাওলা? That is it some useless thing, or really it is a useful thing? So now there is no doubt, and Faraday himself got tempted to do his experiment. You see, it is Faraday's first experiment in the same year. Probably he did this experiment in the month of October or November. This is the experimental setup, Faraday's disc dynamo. He is a man of coil. These beautiful 2 coils, he experiments. Now you see the human mind, how difficult it is. He did not explore any kind of coil to build his generator or dynamo, because Faraday actually gave the the mechanism of generation of power by relative movement of active and passive coils. Or interaction of two magnets. The real magnetic movement was first reported in the next year. It is a French scientist Pixii. That is the first AC generator or AC dynamo. In those days, they used to call dynamo. And you can see this nature of this dynamo. It is a wheel, and using this wheel, he used to push back and or up and down, not back and forth. It is up and down through this coil, and by this movement, what you saw, this back and forth movement, Pixii actually did the same thing. This coil with movements, and he generated powers. This is the first documented dynamo. And after that, you know how robust, how big it is, and the whole civilization got the taste within next 10 years of time. And I'm giving just one example of nowadays, that it is not the 10 years. Just after that, the next 50 years of time, that was the only engineering or power engineering aspect, that what kind of dynamo, what kind of motors you can have. That is the steady magnet. This is the mechanical movement of coil. And by this way, you can get the benefit of generating power from this. Electrical engineer, but that electrical engineering branch nowadays is called communication engineer. So you are basically electrical communication engineer. Why communication means? It is not the verbal communication, it is not communication by paper or any other means. You are the true people who are working for communication of electrical signals, which was started in 1831. So it is the first kind of communication or electrical communication. Now you can tell or you can guess what is the next kind of communication, or what is the next taste of communication that this new civilization got. এর পরের কমিউনিকেশন ফেজটা কি এলো? What's your idea? Anyone? Anyone of you?
So wireless communication.
Anyone of you?
Sir, the communication used in computers.
I am talking about 1831, and from 1831 you are jumping to, you don't know which year you're talking about. It's totally ignorant. Your generation did not find anything about I am talking about right now. Did you ever experience telegraphic communication? Did you? You did not.
No, sir.
So what kind of communication you are used to?
Telephone.
সারাদিন ধরে কি করো?
Telephone.
Noise. বাড়িতে কি মেশিন চলছে সবার নাকি? এত নয়েজ কেন? Yeah. You have no idea. Or you are enjoying to be mom. Hmm? You are asking me as communication engineer. One Italian American, his name was Antonio Meucci. Antonio Meucci was he migrated to Cuba, and he was actually a physiotherapist. ফিজিওথেরাপিস্টের কাজ তোমরা জানো কি করে? দেখেছো কোনদিন? না সেটা বলে দিতে হবে। হুম?
না স্যার দেখেছি,
কি করে ফিজিওথেরাপিস্ট?
ফিজিওথেরাপি করে।
Exercise.
মানে
এই তো চোট ঠোট
করে মানে
লাগলে ওগুলো হাত টাত মানে এক্সারসাইজ করায় টাইপের ওরকম।
সে তাহলে ডাক্তার, তাই তো? খানিকটা ডাক্তারি কাজ করে, এই তো, আর তো কিছু করে না, হাত পা টিপে দেয়।
হ্যাঁ,
হ্যাঁ?
স্যার।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ স্যার।
হ্যাঁ। He was actually Italian, I already told you. He was in Cuba and he was earning just by doing physiotherapy. And suddenly his wife got sick and the kind of disability. She could not move. Meucci, probably he used to use his basement, and his wife would stay at the to the first or two-storied building. Probably she was in the top story of this building. And Meucci found that every time for any kind of communication, for any kind of discussion, he had to go up and down multiple times a day. Then he thought, no, it is not the good way to survive. So better, but he was busy in his physiotherapy center. That was the basement of his residence. Then he developed one small instrument to talk to his wife. And immediately after that, he filed one patent. And that is the first patent for telephony. So telephony means electrical communication of voice signal. Electrical communication of voice signal. But whenever we talk about telephony, or who is the inventor of telephony, whose name come first?
Graham Bell.
Yeah, the Graham Bell is the inventor of telephone, right? Which is absolutely wrong. And after a long controversy, in 2002, the American upper house has resolved in 2002, yeah, exactly 2002, they resolved that the inventor of telephony is not Graham Bell. That's why the Americans, the Canadians are very unhappy, because Graham Bell is actually Canadian. So it is not Graham Bell, it is Antonio Meucci. So the next communication came in the shape of voice signal, or in the form of voice signal. I'm going to send another link because it will be disconnected soon. Just wait.
এই অরিজিতের মাথায় একটা ছবির মধ্যে একটা কি আছে বলতো, দেখি একটু শুনি। অরিজিৎ, ওটাই কি বলে? জ্যাকেটের টুপি। তোমাকে বলেছে ওরা জ্যাকেটের টুপি? তুমি মাথায় দিয়ে ছবি তুলেছো? তোমাকে তো প্যাক করে রেখে দেওয়া কথা। কোন শীতকাল? কলকাতার শীতকালে ওই টুপিটা মাথায় দিয়েছো? কোথায় ছিলে? কত টেম্পারেচার ছিল জয়পুরে ছিলে যে তুমি? তখন ওরকম ছবি তুলেছো রাত 2-3টার সময়? কত টেম্পারেচার তোমার মনে নেই যে কত হতে পারে? এই আজকে কতজন আমরা আছি? 15 জন মাত্র?
না স্যার, 18
18?
এখানে
আমাকে নিয়ে?
15 জন,
আমাকে নিয়ে?
আপনাকে নিয়ে 19, মানে ওয়েবেক্সে
আচ্ছা,
ছিল।
তুমি কজন? হ্যাঁ, তুমি সেই কারা কারা আসেন তাকে বলে দিও তো।
আচ্ছা,
এটাকে বলে, এটা এই কনসেপ্ট আগে ছিল না। এই তোমাদের তো অন্ধের মতো ফলো করো, ফলো উপায় নেই, এটা এখন তো করতেই হবে। গোটা সভ্যতাটাই চলছে তো অসভ্যের মতো। এর কদিন পরে দেখা যাবে তুমিও তোমার বাড়িতে হামাগুড়ি দিয়ে ঢুকছো, তার কারণ ইগলুতে লোকে হামাগুড়ি দিয়ে ঢোকে। এটা মেইনলি নর্থ আমেরিকায়, আমেরিকার সাউথে দরকার হয় না, এটা মেইনলি নর্দার্ন পার্ট অফ ইউএস এবং কানাডায়। ওখানে একটা আর্টিক উইন্ড চলে, দিস উইন্ড ইজ ট্রিমেন্ডাস। এবং উইন্টার এসে উইন্টার কি সামারেই, মানে শিকাগো গেলে সামারেই তোমাকে উইন্ডে কাঁপিয়ে দেবে। শুধু কাঁপানো নয়, ইউ উইল বি সিক। তোমার কানে যদি সবসময় এরকম হাওয়া ঢোকে, ইউ উইল বি সিক। সেই জন্য আগে এটা ছিল না, আগে লোকে অন্য ধরনের টুপি ব্যবহার করতো। সো এই নতুন জ্যাকেট তৈরি হওয়ার পরে দে ডিসাইডেড যে আমরা এরকম একটা হুডি, দে কল ইট হুডি, তুই মাথা যেটা দিয়েছে টুপি নয়, এটাকে বলে হুডি। এটাকে পেছনে ট্যাগ করে দিল যাতে করে ইউ ক্যান কভার ইউর হেড এন্ড পার্টিকুলার ইয়ার, ওই হাওয়া থেকে বাঁচার জন্য। মুশকিল হচ্ছে যেটা তৈরি করে কে? আমেরিকান কোন প্রোডাক্ট, সরি আমেরিকা যে ইউজ করে কেউ আমেরিকায় তৈরি হয় না। কে তৈরি করে এগুলো? চায়না করে। চায়না করার পরে চায়না সেগুলোর কোয়ালিটি কন্ট্রোলে যায়। and it is the beauty of US and Canada, যে চায়না তৈরি করুক আর যেই বাংলাদেশ তৈরি করুক, the quality check is 100% precise and honest. ওই কোয়ালিটি ও রিচ করতে না পারলে that will not enter into their country. বাকিগুলো কোথায় যায়? তোমার দেশে আসে, যার জন্য তুমি এই হুডিটা পরে বসে আছো। এগুলো আগে ছিল না। এই যখন থেকে চায়নার প্রোডাক্ট আসতে শুরু করলো, চায়না ইউএস কে দেয়, তো তোমরা সবাই জানো। চায়না কেন, এখন তো তুমি যদি একটু এক্সপেন্সিভ, তোমরা কেউ এর মধ্যে বাইরে বাইরে কখনো গিয়ে ঘুরে এসছো? তোমাদের মধ্যে কেউ ইউরোপ বা ইউএসএ গিয়েছিল? কেউ বলবে না যদি বন্ধুরা কিছু বলে?
না স্যার, যাইনি।
কেউ যায়নি? আচ্ছা, ডেফিনেটলি আর কয়েকটা বছর অপেক্ষা করে তোমরা সবাই যাবে। তো ওখানে গিয়ে দেখবে যে তুমি যেতে পছন্দ করলে তোমার জামা বা ওই জাতীয় কিছু কটন মেড যদি পছন্দ হয়, it has to be from Bangladesh or from India. The best quality cotton ওরা যা পায় সব ওখান থেকে পায়। আর ইজিপশিয়ান কটন খুব কম আসে। ইজিপশিয়ান কটন ইজিপ্ট থেকে তো আসেই না, কিছু আসে কি তৈরি হয় অন্যান্য কান্ট্রিতে। তার মধ্যে আফ্রিকান কান্ট্রি রয়েছে, অন্য জায়গায় তৈরি হয় বিকজ অফ চিপ লেবার। Indian garments, Bangladeshi garments are really good and expensive too. Chinese গুলো অত ভালো না। তা তুমি তো তোমার অরিজিৎ, তোমার হুডির গল্পটা ভালো লাগলো? এগুলো খুব কাজে লাগবে যখন তুমি ওই ঠান্ডার দেশে এবং ওই হাওয়ার মধ্যে যাবে। ওই হাওয়াটা সহ্য করা যায় না। সবই ভালো, ঠান্ডা আছে, সবই আছে, ঠিক আছে। ওই কন্টিনিউয়াস ওই হাওয়া মাথা তো ধরেই যায়, পায়ের আঙুল পর্যন্ত জমে যায়। তুমি 10 মিনিট দাঁড়িয়ে থাকলে তুমি আর এগোতে পারবে না। সুতরাং তোমাকে সর্বদা মুভমেন্টের উপর থাকতে হবে। জুতো সেলাইয়ের মধ্যে দিয়ে ওই হাওয়া ঢুকে যাবে। তো therefore তোমার দেশের জুতো ওখানে চলবে না। you have to use different kind of shoes. আমাদের দেশে সেলাইয়ের মধ্যে দিয়ে ওই হাওয়া তুমি ধরতেই পারবে না, রাখতেই পারবে না। The only due to, it is not for snow, it is only due to this cold air. Okay, so it is not really Graham Bell, কিন্তু গ্রাহাম বেলের নাম এত কেন প্রমিনেন্ট তোমরা জানো সেটা? 1844 America first got the test of communication by electrical signal. So can you guess after how many years the same country or the civilization got the test of telephonic communication, voice communication? 1844, 1854, 1864, 1874, not yet. But 1874 is very important because telephone's সবথেকে বেশি important part. Oh, sorry, there is one who cannot understand Bengali, right? Are you present? ওর নাম কি?
Archana.
Huh?
Archana Kumari.
Archana?
Yes, sir.
I asked the question in Bengali. How do you do an answer?
I understand.
No. I did not ask in English. I asked in Bengali.
I got that you asked that when America got telephonic communication or something.
Oh, that's the English term. But how do you got this? How did you get my voice communication in Bengali? That means you understand.
No, bit of I can say.
You guess some.
Yeah, I make a bad guess which turns out to be true sometimes.
Actually, Graham Bell, the most complicated part is the conversion of voice signal to electrical signal. And nowadays he use what instrument, you tell? To speak. You people are speaking, people are talking through which instrument?
Microphone.
Microphone. Do you know who coined this term, microphone? Phone came from phonetics, and it came much earlier, in 1849. In 1849 is the year when Antonio Meucci filed his patent. 1849. After so many years, the true or useful device or transducer came. It is called microphone, and it was invented by that great scientist Graham Bell. Actually, Graham Bell was a teacher. Graham Bell was not a scientist. Graham Bell is a teacher in a deaf school. You know, deaf and dumb school? People who cannot speak. And you know their style of speaking? Just by signing, right? Right. But no, they are taught, actually when they are taught, are you experienced of their teaching methodology? By touching the vocal cord. That's why they can read your lip. The vocal cord, and from this vocal cord they try to pick up the sound, the nature of the sound and their meaning. So as a teacher of this deaf school, Graham Bell noticed that the diaphragm is the instrument, and we need something like that in the form of electrical device. And from that, he conceived this idea of microphone. And his microphone is not like your microphone. Your microphone is actually electret microphone. You just keep this term, you just note this term, and later on, you just go to Google and try to find out what is the meaning of electret. So nowadays it is electret microphone, but most modern and light microphones are electret microphone. But that time when Graham Bell started his microphone, the device was completely different. But still, the device was so sensitive that whenever you were talking in front of that microphone, you could nicely communicate with someone who is sitting in a distant location or in a city few kilometers, few hundred kilometers from your home. And that's why Graham Bell got this credit. But there was some story, and you can learn it later on, because Graham Bell had his patent in 1874. But much before, in 1849, one patent was filed. And I told the Antonio was a poor guy, and when it was granted within a couple of years, he could not pay only $250 to the patent office because it was filed in US Patent Office. So both, there was another patent also there, Eliza Gray. Have you heard this name, Eliza Gray? No.
No, sir.
No, sir.
That is very interesting story, because both of them, Eliza Gray and Graham Bell, they are contemporary, and they invented their transducer in two different forms, and they filed patent in US Patent Office on the same day. But after a long litigation, Graham Bell's patent was accepted and Eliza Gray's patent was rejected. Why? Because of the patent lawyer. The patent lawyer filed Graham Bell's patent in the morning, but Eliza Gray got delayed, and he did in the afternoon. So it is by their fate, by fortune or misfortune, someone got and someone did not. So many people are working on improving the device, and fortunately Graham Bell was most successful and most efficient. And even immediately after that, once that 74 microphone device by Graham Bell was successful, immediately within 4 years of time, it is 1788, telephone service started. And it was developed so fast across the globe that US, Canada, and Europe, all over the world, the main areas of the civilized part of this world, they started the telephone services and telephone business. And Graham Bell's name came in front because the patent was not granted that time because of money. And mysteriously, the patent document of Antonio Meucci was lost. So after a long investigation by detective investigation, so US government, they tried to find it out, and finally it was detected, but it was a big mystery. But later on, since it was granted but not paid in time because of some issues or financial issues, so government finally approved that one without any charge. And it is a glorious part of the history of science that Antonio Meucci got his credit later on as the inventor of telephony. So the necessity is mother of invention. It is always there. Someone felt to talk to his wife. Normally people don't like, but he liked it, and that's why he got telephony. And later on, it is Graham Bell who developed the device and invented microphone, because initial microphone or the device was not at all competent for commercial development or commercial uses. So people become very happy. And nowadays, you people are very happy because you are always doing your communication over voice, but most of the time you prefer to text. We are now in 1874 and 1888. So now you see, as communication engineer, you should feel proud that communication engineering, it's a branch of electrical engineering, it developed so fast. And parallelly, when in 1831 and 32, the generator was developed, but commercial operation started within next 5-6 years of time. And when it was in full form, what was the purpose of this? I mean, you can. It is very difficult to exactly demarcate that year when it is in operation, but gradually the electrical power was developed, the transformer was developed because it was one challenge to supply to individual houses. So ultimately power came to individual house. Question is for what? Badite ki hobe? What is the purpose of electrical power? Simple question. If I purchase some power, electrical power at my home, at my house, what will be the first purpose? Why do we do it?
লাইট জ্বালানো।
লাইট জ্বালানো। তো লাইটটা তো তৈরি করতে হবে তো।
Yes, sir.
বাল্ব তো ছিল না। তো how do you lit your light? আচ্ছা, লাইট যে জ্বলবে এটা কে বললো? এটা তো জানতো না, ইলেকট্রিক্যাল লাইট তো ছিল না, তো পাওয়ারটা দিয়ে হবেটা কি? So if there is no light, suppose only lamp was the source of light, but electrical power already gave us the taste of motor. So one is generator, another is motor. But the motor was in the DC form, the DC motor. You are generating power, and this power is also DC power. Hey, school day te porano hoyeche to DC power, AC power?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Right. So initially it was in the form of DC. The test of light, electrical light, it was by whom? Do you know?
Tesla.
Thomas Alva Edison. (1880). That is a big jump. After 1831, we had to wait up to 1880. কতগুলো বছর? How many years? 30 to 80?
50 years.
50 বছর। 50 years. There was no electric light that time. এক একটা invention turns the concept, turns the need. And interestingly, when in 1880 the light was invented, electric bulb was invented, the coil bulb. You know the principle of electric bulb. It is a tungsten coil. Initially it was carbon, now it is all tungsten coil. A very high resistance coil. And what do you enjoy in this coil valve? Which property of electricity you enjoy in the form of light? Joule's heating effect. It is nothing but I square R. So you cannot increase your I. So what to be increased?
R.
R. And that was the challenge. And there was multiple stories, multiple myths, and it is told that Thomas Alva Edison, he's inventor of many things, the most creative person of this modern civilization. Edison, it is told that nearly 300 times he had to do this experiment, and finally he became successful. So one is light, and in 1884, somebody told about Tesla, the another giant electrical engineer, Tesla. He invented induction motor, three-phase system. And actually, the Tesla's concept was adopted much later, but that is the most modern power system which is based on Tesla's concept. So specifically these two inventions made this electrical engineering more profound, useful, and established. এতদিন চলছিল যে the science, technology, applications, so all in the experimental format. So once the light came, electrical bulb came, induction motor came, so the electric fan, the household use, for households use, electrical fan, machine, etc. So gradually developed within next 4 or 5 years of time. And then the crisis came that how to build and what standard we need to follow, because we need to do some business. Lot of companies, lot of industries were set up, but they were as per their individual choices. So then electrical engineers told, no, this is not the right way to guide this development. Rather, we should sit together and we should formulate some standards. That means it will be 3-pin or 2-pin. The whole dimension will be like this. What ampere system we want is 5 ampere limit or 10 ampere limit. So they decided and they made the standard for industry. But who? A group of people, they formed AIEE, American Institute of Electrical Engineers. That is the first regulatory body for electrical engineers that was established in 1884. Sorry, yeah, it is in 1884. It is 1884 or 1888? No, it is in 1884. So that American Institute of Electrical Engineers, so they first formulated their standard, and electrical engineering came at the industry level. But that time, telephony, telegraphy, for their control or regulatory purpose, there was no specific standards because it was all low power devices. So that need or that kind of need was not felt by the engineers that time. Again, telephony was in operation since 1878. But it's all based on wire. Two types of communications, all are wired communication. Your electrical power generation, everything is based on wire. The electrical industry, electrical engineering, it was established, and as well as electrical communication was also established. But one phenomenon, it was like, or it is comparable with other one, that is Newton's law. What is that? That was very fundamental thing. And that happened in electricity and magnetism domain. In 1831, when Faraday did his experiment, and Faraday then published, because Faraday lived quite long years after that experiment, and he wrote few notes, his memoirs, his books were available. So the Scottish scientist James Maxwell, he was that time, he was just born in 1831. And when he was in his 20s, what's your age right now? Around? You were 20?
19.
19, 20, yes. So he's of your age almost. He was of your age. He tried to understand. He was not very convinced because he tried to understand Faraday's experiment. I already showed his experiment. So it is the difference between the ordinary mind and great minds. He did not accept Faraday's experiment and Faraday's explanation, or he was not satisfied with the simplified explanation that was made by Faraday. What is that? If you look at Faraday's experiment, you can find that there is two coils. Should I go to this experimental slide again? There is no need. There is one coil. The coil, Faraday is telling that this coil is producing magnetic flux around this, and that is according to Ampere or Ampere's statement, or Hans Oersted and Andre Ampere's combined observation. So anyway, the physical thing is magnetic field is coupled to one coil, and the other coil is there. So when this magnetic flux is linked with the secondary coil and there is some relative motion, then you are getting some induced current. That is as simple as that. The Faraday's experiment or Faraday's interpretation. Maxwell asked himself, what is the meaning of Faraday's lines of force? Faraday told because the lines of force is cut. Maxwell was totally confused with the term lines of force. Lines of force you cannot see. What is that? So in 1856, when he was just 25, am I right? 1831 to 1856? Yeah, exactly 25. He first wrote his first paper. The title is On Faraday's Lines of Force. And there he first raised the question and tried to explain the Faraday's lines of force. I'm not going to very details because all these works of Maxwell was, later on it was fully mathematical, but most significant is his second work. He took 56, he took another 5 years time. He did not do hurry. He gave enough time just to read the experiment, just to read, give more time, more thought that what's that, and what's that. Then he wrote his second paper in 1861, and he wrote on physical lines of force. That is very interesting. He did not accept the existence of lines of force without considering any intervening medium. That is the free space or air through which the lines of force are coupled. He tried to model this medium in the form of molecular vortex. And he told it's the sea of molecular vortex. That means this lines of force is not just one simple word. You need to understand the mechanism which is going on in the molecules of the medium. Because not only he, this whole generation believed in medium, or this medium is to call ether, which was totally abolished. The concept was totally abolished by Michelson-Morley experiment. It was in 1887. So I'm talking about 1856. Still the concept was valid, and Maxwell used to believe that there is medium, so the model is totally based on the medium. And not only that, he modeled the medium in a very interesting way. And he used two equivalents. One is the molecular density, another is the transverse elasticity of the medium. And he took two equivalent. One is mu, that is medium permeability, and another is medium permittivity. So Faraday gave a long time in between his first and second paper, and there he did one interesting thing. No, I think it is the second paper. No, he did not do. It is after second paper. The first paper he made this model. First paper he's made his model, and he conceived a term that is what is going on from one coil to another coil. It is not just simple lines of force. It is a current, and this current he used to call is displacement current. So the second paper on physical lines of force is too important because he made this new concept of molecular vortex model of medium. He conceived displacement current, which was not in existence, the displacement current. Ampere did not find any kind of current like this. And moreover, yeah, I'm right. Yeah, in between 1 and 2, he did one more calculation from Newton, because Newton's velocity of wave, from the expression of velocity of wave and mechanical wave, he took the equivalence that I already mentioned, the mu and epsilon, and he found that it is exactly or very close to the velocity of light. So in the second paper, he wrote that velocity of light is not just by this mechanical something in the medium, and that is I believe that is electrical in nature. So he did not say anything more about this electrical, about light, but the wave, the velocity of light, which was already measured by that time, Weber and Colruyt, probably Weber and Colruyt, they did this experiment almost contemporarily before Maxwell wrote his second paper. So he took that results and he put his equivalence, and he judged that both are compatible. So he just explained that the light is not just one mechanical movement of light, and it is kind of electrical property of light. That's all. He took another 3 years of time after the second paper on physical lines of force. During that time, after writing his second paper, actually he was using multiple variables, at least 20 variables, and all in algebraic form. Then he derived purely wave equation, and he became successful. So based on Faraday and Ampere, and he added his concept of displacement current, he added his concept of vortex model, molecular vortex model, added his concept of medium equivalence in the form of mu and epsilon. So based on all combinations, he derived the wave equation very successfully. Then he commented two very important things that whole world got astonished after reading his third paper. That was Dynamical Theory of Electromagnetic Field. The title of this paper is Dynamical Theory of Electromagnetic Field. So it is the foundation of electromagnetic field theory. So far, electricity, it was in the form of electricity, magnetism, electromagnetic induction, electrical instrument development, power development. But Maxwell did a completely different set of works, and he foretold that if you can make electricity and magnetism in a controlled way, if you can make the proper situation, then electromagnetic wave can propagate from a place to another place. The concept of wave, actually he picked up the problem from the Faraday's lines of force and landed up with the concept of electromagnetic field propagation. And that is the foundation of wireless communication, but without any kind of proof. No final experiment he did. He did some thought experiments. He did another physical experiment because he was 100% experimental person. If you look at his whole contribution, his whole life, it is full of experiments, and he was mainly one top scientist or experts in the field of optics, colored photography, chromaticity diagram. It was Maxwell's invention, as well as classical Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. So every branch of physics was covered by him. But this electromagnetic theory was the most epoch-making work in this world. If you consider top three contribution or concept that's made this new science and civilization really meaningful to civilization. One is Newton's second law particularly. Second, is Maxwell's electromagnetic theory, his second and third papers. Second paper is novel, and third paper is more conclusive. And definitely after that, the second paper of Einstein. So based on Maxwell's 64, that is, this is last theory, the new generation of scientists, they got excited to develop, to prove electromagnetic fields and wave propagation from a place to another place. Interestingly, Maxwell lived another 15 years after that. He did not do any experiments. Definitely he had excitation. He made one proposition and one conjecture. I told you that two important, very important things. One is proposition. Proposition is electromagnetic field. If launched proper way, in a proper way, then it will propagate at the velocity of light. And second one, his conjecture, it was not proposition, that light is electromagnetic in nature. He did not prove it, but he conjectured it, that light is electromagnetic in nature, because lots of similarities what he demonstrated in his second paper. So in third paper, he conclusively conjectured. So both are true. But Maxwell's contribution after 64 was absolutely zero. Question is how to know that Maxwell is right. It is science. It is not the myth, or it is not the prediction like astrology. Question is how to solve this problem. Because Maxwell himself did not do anything. Then Oliver Lodge, Oliver Heaviside, and one more senior professor of Berlin University, you know his name, he is von Helmholtz. You have heard his name because the Helmholtz resonator. The famous resonator is taught in school levels. So von Helmholtz. Helmholtz was senior, much senior compared to other two guys, that is Oliver Lodge and Oliver Heaviside. Oliver Lodge and Oliver Heaviside, they were based in London. They're British. Out of them, Oliver Lodge was highly educated and very sophisticated. Oliver Heaviside was relatively less educated, formally educated, but he was a robust engineer. In our course, I need to talk about him later on, Oliver Heaviside. And the other one is from Germany. He's from Berlin, that is von Helmholtz. They tried a lot in different forms, And in their own ways, they tried to explain Maxwell. The result was not very promising. And in 1879, it is just after Maxwell died. In 1879, von Helmholtz, he quit his ambition. He was a very intelligent guy, that he realized that I am too ambitious to solve this problem. Rather, but it is the time to get new blood and new mind to think about. And he approached to Prussian Academy of Berlin that we announced a prize, and they declared one prize in 1879. It is called Berlin. It is called Berlin Prize. It is called Berlin Prize. The single goal to solve the problem or to experimentally demonstrate Maxwell's proposition is correct. You'll have to demonstrate it experimentally. So this problem was called Berlin problem. Berlin Prize problem. Sorry, I forgot his name. Berlin Prize problem. So it was declared formally. Definitely it attracted a lot of young minds, both in Europe and America. And Helmholtz wrote one personal letter to his student in Berlin, but later on his student, he came to Karlsruhe. Karlsruhe is another institute, Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. Karlsruhe is one city. It is one city. Berlin is in the north of Germany, but it is in the southern part. But if you go far south, it is Munich is in the far south of Germany. It is almost in the middle. So he was in Karlsruhe, so he wrote him that he's Heinrich Hartsch. So Hartsch got this problem and he was inspired by Helmholtz. German mind and German endeavor, it is of different kind. In your life, you will meet people from different countries, and you will find the people from every country have some peculiar features. The Chinese are different from Indians. Indians are different from any part of European countries. And out of them, the whole Europe, Germans are different. So he accepted the problem. Heinrich Hartsch accepted the problem, and he tried to read Maxwell's papers. And you are too young right now, but your whole life is there. If you're interested, you try to read the third paper. It is available in internet, everywhere you can find. And it is too difficult and too obscure. Even today, we know everything about Maxwell's equation. Still, you cannot find anything meaningful. I don't know why. Only good of it that it was written in clear English. So English text is fine, but mathematical part is too difficult. Anyway, Maxwell did one beautiful thing for us. He wrote a treatise. Have you heard his book? Name of his book? Treatise on Electricity and Magnetism, Volume 1, Volume 2. This is by Dover Publication. It is in our library or any library. You can, just for curiosity, you can take and have a look. It is his own original book. So anyway, so it was equally hard to all of the scientists who are dealing with this. So Harge was very smart out of all these guys. He only picked up those parts which are legible, which are understandable to him. And he compiled, because it was very simple. Maxwell considered two major things. One is Ampere and second is Faraday, because his primary concern was Faraday's lines of force. So Faraday's whole mathematical concept was intact, but he could not believe in the meaning of the lines of force, and that part he added to Ampere. And that's why you see the Ampere's law, when it is written in Maxwell's format or in the form of Maxwell's equation, Ampere's law is not in the pure form of Ampere. It adds one more term, and that comes from Maxwell. And other conjectures or other important properties of electromagnetic field, Harge took in consideration, and he wrote these 4 equations. So these 4 equations are basically contribution of Heinrich Harge, and they are in differential form. You were taught Maxwell's equation. Is it already taught? Is it already taught, Maxwell's equation?
No, sir.
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. Okay. Probably it will be taught in the same course, so you'll understand. But I'm telling you that you should not worry about. He took only these 2 equations, and these 2 equations are written in a very, very beautiful form, in differential form. After you complete your course, in the future, I will tell about little bit in the advanced format for your understanding. Right now, it is too advanced for you. So once you read Maxwell's equation, you will find there are 2 equations in the dynamic form. Dynamic means it is function of time, and 2 equations in the static form. So when Maxwell's equation it was reformulated by Harge. So later on, these equations are referred to by Einstein as not as Maxwell's equation. It is Harge-Maxwell equation. He used to call it Harge-Maxwell's equation. So Maxwell's equation gives the form of electricity and magnetism in a different packet. The same electricity magnetism in a different pack, which helps you realizing and creating the concept of electromagnetic field. So one is the application as circuit, and one is the application as field. So the whole electrical engineering so far up to 1878, that is, or 1880, it was based on all circuits, either in the form of power and instrumentation, or in the form of communication circuits. So wireless not in our domain. But there was light when Harge resolved this problem in 1884, around 1884. That means 1879 to 1884. How many years? 5 years time, right? But again, he was in dark because there was the challenge to experimental proof or demonstration of electromagnetic field to be generated, transmitted, and received. Finally, it is Harge who, not accidentally, he has been trying for years, like other scientists. The whole world was familiar with the problem, and they were excited to have this new technology, new engineering, or new science for the future. But no one was successful yet at that time. Ultimately, it happened. It happened in reality in 1887. And Harge, when he did his experiment in 1887, he repeated it for quite a few times, and he reported in 1888. Harge even did not understand the significance of this experiment. He took it, he considered it just as a proof of concept that what Maxwell told, what he derived out of Maxwell's statements, that is correct, that is true. Because based on this new set of Maxwell's equation, you can derive wave equation, you can solve wave equation, and you can solve anything about electromagnetics based on these 4 equations. So brilliant equations. And if you read Harge's own statements in German, I don't know German, so I had to read the translation. He's writing, Heinrich Harge, that I have doubt whether if Maxwell were alive, he would accept these equations as his equations, because Harge actually read Maxwell but interpreted Maxwell's equation in his own ways, because Maxwell's equations or Maxwell's statements, technical statements, were not transparent to the scientific community. So what equation we see, it is actually Harge's interpretation of Maxwell's statements. And Harge was not, from his language, Harge was not even 60% confident that he is producing really Maxwell's statements. So who knows what Maxwell was trying to say at that time. But it is fortunate that these 4 equations, still we call it Maxwell's equation, to honor Maxwell. And these Maxwell's equations help you to solve every corners, every minute details of electromagnetic field theory. That's all. And when it was proved by Harge himself in 1887 and reported in 1888, then also it was It was another giant leap to the human civilization, but he really did not realize the significance of this experiment. He did his experiment in a laboratory. That laboratory has been converted to an auditorium. So you can imagine the dimension of his laboratory. It was huge. He generated the wave in VHF domain. The dimension was 5 meters, the wavelength was 5 meters. He devised his antenna as dipole. He transmitted through air. He received the signal, which is the first receiver of electromagnetic wave, that is in the form of a electrical loop, a simple wire in the form of a loop. And he tried to do some additional experiments. So when the first part, the proposition was confirmed that yes, Maxwell's proposition is right, the wave propagates. And electromagnetic wave, when it is properly launched, that propagates. So that's over. Then immediately after that, after 1888, Hertz, not only Hertz, the scientific community was more excited with the conjecture. Is it really true? Light is electromagnetic in nature, because light is a particle. We know Huygens principle and other principles. So light is a different thing. So light is cannot be electromagnetic. But well, if Maxwell says so, let it be proved. So how do you prove that light is electromagnetic? So in the reverse way, they tried to prove this, that well, electromagnetic wave we have generated. Hertz actually looked at this problem from his point of view, that I have generated electromagnetic wave. So now if I can show that electromagnetic wave follows the properties of light, then in a reverse way I can tell that they are identical. And if I can establish that they are identical, then automatically light will be regarded as electromagnetic wave. So what property of light that should be followed by electromagnetic wave? There are two main properties, reflection and refraction. Reflection and refraction of a 5 meter. 5 meter is actually the wavelength. And can you imagine the dimension of 5 meter wave? One-storied building is typically 3 meter. So it is close to two-storied building, and that is the dimension of lambda. So to reflect that type of wave, you need huge dimension of reflector. And that's true. Hertz built a huge dimension of reflectors, but it was very difficult to follow the experiments because he had no that sensitive instrument to measure the angle and etc. etc. The contemporary scientists, because Hertz died, he breathed his last in 1894, 1st January. So he lived just for 5 years after that. It's unfortunate, with a very young age, at the age of 34 or 35, he expired. Just a minute. Hello. No, I'm in class. Yeah, I'll complete within 15 minutes. Okay. So the next attempt was taken by our own in Kolkata, J.C. Bose. His intention was to create electromagnetic wave of smaller wavelength. Why? To repeat the experiment what was attempted for at Germany, but it was not successful because of the dimension of the lambda or wavelength. So he tried to create a smaller wavelength. And he followed the steps, ideas by Oliver Lodge. He became successful. He first generated microwaves. Nowadays, we call it millimeter waves, whatever it be. It's a very small wavelength generation, transmission, detection he did. And moreover, his significant contribution is he determined the refractive index of a quartz piece. And he exactly followed the procedure you followed in your school laboratory. Do you remember? You measured sin I by sin R and refractive index by using some pins. Did you
Yes,
do?
sir.
You do?
Yes, sir. Traveling microscope.
Right. So he repeated the same experiment, but he removed the source. His source was electromagnetic wave of small wavelength, and his detector was one sensitive detector he used as a Galena detector. So his whole setup was electrical or electromagnetic. He accurately determined sin I and accurately measured sin R using electromagnetic wave and calculated the ratio of this sin I by sin R and determined the value of refractive index, which is the exact value of the refractive index of quartz. And by this way, Bose was the first successful scientist in the world to endorse the conjecture as a correct conjecture of Maxwell. Actually, that was his intention. Bose's intention was not to do anything relating to communication because it is far advanced compared to his time. He did in 1895. So wireless communication or communication without wire, no, there was really no concept of that communication. Still, Bose did one more thing, that is one mechanical operation he executed without wire, using wireless. That is, fired a gun. That means he kept one sensor. The sensor operated as soon as some electromagnetic wave was received by the sensor, and one electrical action took place. So remotely, by wireless, he successfully operated one electrical action or mechanical action. If you say it is a communication, but it is just few meters, even within 2-3 meters, maybe within 1 meter, because one room to another room he operated, and he did his experiments in presence of the then Governor General of India. So that is the second phase of wireless. The first phase of wireless by Hodge himself. The second phase of wireless by J.C. Bose. And the contemporary development or contemporary attempt was taken by a young boy having no formal education. He was Guglielmo Marconi. At his parental home at Bologna. Bologna is in Italy. Marconi is Italian, but his mother was British. Marconi read the news of sudden demise of Heinrich Hodge. And from that news, he got some flavor of his discovery, that is electromagnetic wave propagation. He was very young that time, below 18 probably. But his mind was always business oriented. Then he thought, well, we can use it for business. If I can use it in a sensible form. And he started his scientific venture to see that how long I can communicate, because if I am successful in communicating between 2 points which are far apart, then only I can sell my product. Telegraphy was established, so he immediately conceived that telegraphy, I need to do telegraphy. Telegraphy means sending of electrical signal. Successfully sending of electrical signal which makes sense, which carries some information. So if I can make it without wire, then it is a big success because it is going to promote maritime business. Maritime means business by ships, jahaj. Because Europe was based on, including England, it was based on surrounding is just seas and based on overseas business. Starting from foods to products. So doing business was because it is the first generation of industrialization. So business was the only thing for the rich countries. So if I can do business successfully, then my country will be rich and I will be rich. I can sell product for business. So he conceived wireless as a business to support another business. The business means it is the maritime business. That is, so once you are sailing, once you are in the ship, you are out of home. You cannot communicate to your ground station, not to your home, nowhere. You are out of contact from the whole world. So if I can connect, that will be one huge change in scenario. And that was his attempt. And based on this Marconi started his venture exactly in 1894. Same year, exactly in the same year when J.C. Bose started his work sitting in Presidency College. As per record, it is around 1893-94. And Marconi also started in 1894. But totally with a different attitude, different goal, different technology, different inspiration. Definitely, Bose was successful and did a massive job in conceiving a different frequency, different instrumentation, different concept for the new world. But it was too advanced relative to the time in 1895. So we realized the significance of his devices, his technologies in after First World War, because microwave really took its own shape, microwave engineering, after World War I. And massive development of technology, behind this, there is a contribution of World War II. And especially in our domain of electronics and communication engineering. So both wars, World War I and II, both helped us, though it was not very healthy for the mankind. Loss of life, loss of many things, peace, life, human values, all destroyed that time. But at that cost, we got very rapid development of technology. So starting from 1894, when Marconi sitting in Bologna, he became confident about his developments. He did not know anything about what Bose was doing here, because his total attempt was different. He exactly followed what Hodge did, but he broke one arm of Hart's antenna. Later on, I will tell you the whole development and whole story, probably in the next semester. So anyway, 84, 85, 86, 87. 94, 95, 96, 97. In 97, he migrated to England from Italy, not as a tourist, as an entrepreneur. The mother was British, so he faced no problem in doing business. He came, he formed one company. He hired one very famous professor of London University. He built his company. So starting from that, he tried to build real stuff for communication experiment across Atlantic. Now, can you believe the giant imagination? And it is a kind of inhuman approach. And that's why he came to Poldhu. Poldhu is in the one coast. It is the western coast. It is the western coast of England. So he chose the location of Poldhu. Poldhu is in UK. On seashore, he built his transmitting laboratory and office. And he planned to receive the signal across Atlantic. It is the east coast of Canada. The name of this place it is now called Signal Hill, and it is in Newfoundland. It is in Newfoundland. It is also in the sea coast. And interestingly, from 1897, 98, 99, 87, 97 to 98, 99, 1900, 1899 to 1900. That means around 3 years, more than 3 years, around 4 years was the preparatory time. His preparatory time was 4 years. That amount of power, that amount of signal to be generated. But his main bottleneck was how to receive the signal, how to build the antenna, because antenna engineering was not at all established. No one knew anything about antenna. So he conceived his own antenna just by breaking the geometry and dimension what Hodge conceived. So after Hodge, it is the first development of antenna in a different form. Hodge used in a horizontal fashion. He turned it, he made it vertical. It was dipole, he made it monopole, and it was more than 90-meter long antenna for its propagation. And ultimately, he sailed across Atlantic. He went to Newfoundland. And in the month of December of 1901, December 11, December 12, December 13, successively 3 days he repeated this experiment, and day 1 was total failure. Day 2, for few short period, he got the signal, and day 3, the conclusive experiment was done. And he established that across ocean, across Atlantic is probably 3,000 miles. So across 3,000 miles, electrical communication is possible. So when he made this confidence that it is possible, then automatically it was accepted by both scientific and business community. And after coming back to England, Marconi did multiple experiments on propagation. And after he started from shore to shore, then he did his experiment from shore to ship, and all just by wireless. And the first signal he sent from England side, it was S. That is the short form of signal. John Ambrose Fleming, he was the main architect of his transmitter. John Ambrose Fleming, he was professor in London University, and later on he became the inventor of first electronic device diode. It's called Fleming's valve. The first diode valve, it was invented, devised by Fleming in 1904. So the history is very long and very interesting to develop, because the electronics was not known up to that. So the first device was made by Fleming. So before Fleming, up to Marconi's experiment, everything was electrical. So no electronic was involved at that time. So as a part of electrical engineering, you belong to this genesis, you belong to this heritage, that electrical communication in the form of telegraphy, electrical communication in the form of telephony, and electrical communication in the form of wireless by Marconi. So after all these developments, in 1904, we got the first flavor of fast electronics device. It is not electrical. So what is the difference between electrical to electronics? That is a very interesting question and very interesting answer too. So your whole life, you'll have to go with this experience, these questions. In 1906, we got another device. that is called Audion. The first we got diode, that is called Fleming's valve, and 1906 we got another valve that is called Audion. Actually, it is triode. That is diode, and it is the precursor of your transistor. The significance of diode is very, very important to understand, but now it is too early for you to understand. But once diode and triode are in hand, the new generation of engineers, based on their wireless engineering and communication engineering, they claim to be a part of, not a part of, they claim to be a different group of people in engineering, and they formed their own society that is called IRE, Institute of Radio Engineers, in 1912. That indicates that by 1912, the radio engineers were matured enough to have their own society. And not only that, history says by 1912, radio engineers are more in number compared to the electrical engineers, that is AIW people. So the growth was enormous because of many reasons at the same time. 1910, after 1906 discovery by Lee De Forest, that is the Audion, in 1910, De Forest himself was demonstrated broadcasting engineering, or the real broadcasting station, radio broadcasting station. So people got the taste of radio, and they called this to call it wireless in 1910 in New York City. BBC came in operation. BBC made it more popular, but BBC came in operation later, after World War, because World War started, and so it came in operation, became popular after this first World War. So it is the long tradition and long history of electrical engineers. So electronics came out of electrical engineering after a few years as a new entity because of this Institute of Radio Engineers. But ideally, we all belong to the same group of people, and that's why they amalgamated in 1963. American Institute of Electrical Engineers started their journey in 1884. Institute of Radio Engineers started in 1912, and they amalgamated in 1963 to form IEEE. So your IEEE, you know about IEEE. And I request all of you to be a part of IEEE as a student member for your own professional benefit if you can. So this IEEE is actually the amalgamated form of the both categories of engineers. Unfortunately, computer people, they could not form their society or their association. Although there was a scope, but I don't know why the computer group, they did not. So computer is a part of IEEE. So IEEE means electrical engineering, so-called electrical engineering, communication engineering, and computer engineering. But all people are using Ampere and Faraday. And I should say nowadays, Ampere, Faraday, and Maxwell, these three. These three are the part of all three engineering. So you cannot be differentiated, separated from this group. So basically you are electrical engineer, and you are actually electrical communication engineers or radio engineers. So now I think you are convinced that it is a very short time because I need more time, and I can talk a couple of hours more just on few particular things, the development of electronics, but no, it is not the right time. Definitely we'll have time in the future. So now your duty is to go through fundamentals of electromagnetic field theory, that is Maxwell's equation. And I understand that it is not yet been introduced. So hopefully Dr. Mondal will be teaching Maxwell's equation, and you try to follow him, okay? Okay, so I have a question. What about impression about Rafidul's presentation in last class? Are you interested to continue and to understand what he is trying to tell you?
Yes, sir.
Good. And he has some health issues. He has been suffering from some chronic problems. So he is in the hospital today to visit a doctor. That's why he could not join today. So if you are interested, either today or tomorrow, anytime in the evening, you can sit with him. So you tell what's your good time. I will send the link.
So we have a class on today.
So today we have a class. So tomorrow it's
At about 7 p.m.
Well, from 12টা থেকে কোনো ক্লাস আছে আজকে?
আজকে না।
No, okay, আমি তো
সার্কিট থিওরি ক্লাসটা শুরু হয়নি, আমি তো সেই জন্য বলতে পারছি না।
ওকে,
হবে না।
তাহলে ইভিনিং এ ক্লাস আছে আজকে?
আচ্ছা 7টা থেকে
আজকে আছে স্যার, কালকে নেই।
কালকে নেই। তাহলে কালকে আমাকে একটা ইয়ে করো, একটা মেইল করে দিও শাহান।
আচ্ছা স্যার।
কালকে মেইল করে দিও, আমি লিংক পাঠিয়ে দেব।
ওকে স্যার।
So I'm concluding today.
ওকে স্যার।
ওকে, তাহলে পূজোর পরে আবার দেখা হবে তো?
ওকে স্যার, থ্যাংক ইউ।
আচ্ছা, anyway, so we have time if we can discuss a few more minutes. Do you have any question? I just talked, looking at the screen. I just saw some photographs, but no video was there. So do you have any question? If it is not, then I'm closing, okay?
Okay, sir.
Have a good time. You enjoy puja, but don't be excited to interact with your friends outside your home. Okay?
Okay, sir.
So I'm closing. And after Lakshmi Puja, probably we'll be opening and we'll start our classes. Okay. Have a nice time.